Hello and welcome to the live stream. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the tech tools that I'm going to be using as we move into 2025. And honestly, if you're familiar with the stuff I do, these were probably not going to come as a great surprise in the most part because it's stuff that I talk about all the time. I was actually just reflecting on the tools that I have been using this year and the things that I found most interesting, and then thought, well, let's just talk about the ones that I'm going to keep on running with as we go into next year. So as I say, probably no huge surprises here. I am going to start though with some of the things that have been like huge updates in this year that we've had this year, and new products that have come out, because these are the ones that I'm naturally sort of excited about. And you all know that I'm an Ecamm Live super fanboy. For those that don't know, Ecamm Live is the live production software for the Mac that I use to create all of my videos. All of these live streams are done with this, so it's live switching of cameras. So if I switch over to another scene like this, I'm switching this scene in Ecamm Live. It's an amazing software tool. So as I say, no surprise here probably for most viewers, but this is what Ecamm Live looks like. So we've got a window here with a series of different scenes. So that would be a scene like this, for example, sharing this view here. I've got another scene which is a different camera over here, and I'm just pressing these buttons on my Stream Deck to switch between these things. So this is how Ecamm is controlled. I'm controlling it all with the Stream Deck. But the thing is, there's been a huge update that came out earlier on this year in around April or May time, which was this Ecamm for Zoom integration. And that means that now you've got Zoom kind of built into Ecamm. And so what that means is you can use Ecamm directly into your Zoom meetings, which we could always do before with the Ecamm Live virtual camera. You can use it with Google Meet and do Teams and so on to do this live switching into those platforms. But with the Ecamm Live for Zoom integration, what it also means is, in the same way that I've got these various cameras attached to my computer, and I can switch to different scenes in Ecamm. Well, with the Ecamm for Zoom integration, it means that any participants that are in the Zoom meeting, you can also sort of pull them out and bring them into your scene. So if you've got a scene set up with sort of you and somebody else next to you, then this could be your Zoom participant. Ecamm Live for a long time has had the interview mode, which enables you to give a link out to somebody, and then they can go and click the link in the browser, select their camera and mic, and then they can come in that way as a remote guest. Honestly, it was never absolutely the best solution though, because the guest experience I felt was always never as good as you would get on other sort of meeting platforms. Now, it was never intended as a meeting platform. It was a way to get a remote guest in. However, there was always that slight issue in my mind. The thing about this Zoom integration though is if you are doing a video podcast or an interview show or doing live events or panel discussions or things like that, then people are just joining the regular Zoom meeting or a regular Zoom meeting. So it's very familiar because most people are familiar with Zoom meetings these days. But then you can bring them into your production. So it's a really great feature that was added in, as I say, in April. And there are even more things coming in the new year with new releases of Ecamm. They're constantly developing it. They're always reacting to requests from the community, the Ecamm Live community. So it's just a wonderful tool. So I'm really excited about the new things that are coming in the new year with that as well. And so that's definitely something that I'm going to be running with. Now, there's something else though that I got a lot of questions when I made a video about this, and it's actually sitting on my desk right now. It's the Rodecaster video. So this is a hardware camera switcher. So whilst Ecamm Live is a software switcher, the Rodecaster video is a hardware switcher. So if you're familiar with the A10 Mini, which has been a popular hardware switcher for content creators for a long time, which allows you to sort of switch between different cameras and bring up information on screen, much the same way as I'm doing with Ecamm. But the A10 software was always a little bit I would say technically challenging for the majority of users. I think that comes from the fact that they have come from a broadcast standpoint. So a lot of the terminology used, a lot of the functions and features are the sorts of things that you're going to find on, really huge in-studio television switches in, TV production studios and things like that. So anybody who's come from a broadcast background found the A10, really great, because it was just like a mini version of that they could sit on their desk. But I had countless consultation calls with folks who were using the A10 that had a little bit of a a steep learning curve to get over to actually get up and running with it. And then once they were using it for anything more than just camera switching, like if you wanted to put sort of slightly fancy graphics or animated overlays or things like that on the screen, then it's a little bit more technically challenging for folks. What Rode did with the Rodecaster Video, I believe, is just came straight in as best in class as a hardware camera switcher with the ease of programming and with the ease of use of it and the feature set that it has. So I really think it's an amazing device. And a lot of people ask me, am I going to be switching from the Rodecaster Video from Ecamm Live now? Because, lots of folks who watch know that I am an Ecamm fanboy. I'm also a Rode fanboy. So what's going to happen there sort of thing? Would I switch over to the Rodecaster Video? Now, honestly, at the moment, Ecamm Live still allows me to do some things that I personally wouldn't be able to do with the Rodecaster Video. That said, the Rodecaster Video's got lots of capabilities in much the same way that the Rodecaster Pro 2, which is my audio interface. This was built with a really powerful processor on board and lots of capability for sort of expansion and updates that are going to give it a lot more features. And that's very much the case with the Rodecaster Video. And they are in the process of actively adding in more things. There is, ongoing beta testing and so on for lots of new features that are potentially going to be coming into it. So whilst I'm not making a sort of switch completely from Ecamm over to Rodecaster Video, I'm definitely still watching it and still following along and testing out new features as they become available to beta testers, because there's some really interesting things coming down the pipe with that as well. Now, one of the things that I'm going to be doing as we go into the new year, without giving you a full update on the whole history of Take One Tech, but basically, I haven't been making lots of videos on my channel for, I guess, 2 years. I've been doing my regular weekly live stream. This year, if you look at my recorded videos, as opposed to live streamed videos, I put out, I think, 5. Last year, I put out 11, whereas the year before was like 300. So there was definitely a distinct drop-off in the number of recorded videos that I've been making. And part of the reason for that, rather, is because I've been building out all of my online course content. So I've got about 10 courses now, I think. And then the Digital Stage Academy, which is a subscription model, which gives you access to all the courses, but lots of other resources as well. And really, I started that in April of last year and had a sort of roadmap, or maybe March of last year, and had a roadmap for what I wanted to build out into it. And it's taken me 2 years, honestly, to get all of the different courses together, get them completed, get all of the architecture in place. It's been like a huge undertaking from a time standpoint. I've now pretty much got that all sort of as a pretty much complete product now in terms of all the things that I intended to put into it. I'll constantly be adding in more things and building it out further. But what it means is that as we go into the new year, I'm going to have a lot more time. And one of the things that kind of dropped off my active production to-do list was my podcast, which I was doing up until end of year before last, in fact. And then those were sort of trickling out through last year as well. But I'm going to get back to doing my podcast. Now, what I'm thinking of doing, actually, because it's going to be a slightly different vibe, it's going to be something different to what I'm doing here, I'm probably going to actually just do that completely with the Rodecaster Video to be able to sort of test out the tools and the features that it has got. Because I appreciate that whilst I am an Ecamm fanboy and I recommend it to everybody, there are certain advantages to just having a hardware switcher. For example, this Rodecaster Video is pretty amazing in the fact that I talk about my Rodecaster Pro 2 here. Well, this has got effectively the same sort of architecture inside for audio. So it's not just a video switcher. It's an all-in-one device. You can plug in 2 XLR microphones such as this. You can also plug in USB microphones. You can also connect an additional 2 wireless microphones as well. So either the Rode Wireless Go or the Rode Wireless Pro and the Interview Pro as well. So having this in a studio setup, especially if you've got something where you're going to have multiple different people using it, say in a company or say even in a podcast studio that you have other people coming into, this ability to just have a few different camera angles set up. It can do auto switching between the cameras as well, having the microphones plugged into it and all set up, and it's an all-in-one device. You don't really need to have another computer there and running at the time that you're using it potentially. So it is really a compelling device. So I'm thinking of doing my podcast just purely on that because I've got a different setup that I, I set up about 9-10 months ago, which is over on this other wall, which has got a completely different look to it. So I'll probably be using that for this. So that's something that I'm just really interested to dive into more as we go into the new year, to have that comparison, because also not everybody is on a Mac. Not everybody, despite the fact that I recommend it, not everybody will switch from a PC just to a Mac just to use Ecamm, for example. So lots of reasons why it's a great device. So I will be diving into that a lot more in the new year as well. Just a quick check-in with the chat here. Hey, Rich. We had just almost didn't start the live stream. We were too busy having fun in the Zoom backstage. Hello there. Really appreciate your Stream Deck videos. They have, really pleased that they have, really pleased that they've been helpful. That's another thing, by the way, that I'll be doing more of in the new year. I've got lots of Stream Deck videos, but honestly, the majority of them are, I guess, sort of more than 2 years old. I have got a couple of updated ones that were like a full walkthrough that was a live stream. But yeah, part of my recorded video content increase next year is going to be more Stream Deck videos. So definitely there will be more of those coming. If you've got anything that you would like to see, by the way, for anybody, you or anybody else watching, feel free to drop those in the comments. Like if there's a particular video that you want to see about Stream Deck, Rodecaster video, or whatever, I'm always open to requests. They are still relevant. Lots of things in terms of setting up the Stream Deck is still relevant, but there are certainly new features that have come in. So I will at some point do a complete new updated, full Stream Deck video, and then also all the other new features that I'm using along the way as well. This is the thing. So you mentioned there, hope to catch more, not a content creator, mainly picked it up for work efficiency and some side of gaming. This is the thing about the Stream Deck. I think that many people just assume, not so much, it's becoming more that people are mentioning it in YouTube creator videos about, it as a productivity tool. But I bought the Stream Deck originally for camera switching. That's how I discovered it. And then once you get it, you realize that it is this amazing productivity tool. And so that's the side of it actually that I use most of all as well. I definitely do all my camera switching here with it and in my Zoom calls and workshops and presentations and so on. But generally, just day to day, I'm using it in absolutely every aspect of my work because it is such an awesome productivity tool. So definitely will be more to come there as well. Hey, David, great to see you here. Thanks for stopping by. And Don, hi there, Don. Great to see you as well. Whoops, didn't click your message there. From San Diego, California. Great to see you here. This is one thing I love, by the way, about YouTube and streaming and these sort of global connections. For those that don't know, I'm based in the northeast of Thailand, and it's 5 a.m. on a Friday morning here for me. But I just love the fact that we've got all of these connections that we can make with people around the world. Just doing everything online is such a wonderful thing. I know it's not new, but it still makes me sort of pinch myself sometimes that we can do all of this stuff. So 2 video related things there: the Ecamm Live and the Rodecaster video. One is a hardware switcher, one's a software switcher, and they've both got their benefits either way. Another thing that I'm going to be using more, and this is again, you might think, oh, well, this is nothing new. I've got to say that ChatGPT and just AI in general, the pace with which they are moving has been just incredible. I mean, I know that there's this thing about processing power doubles every year and all of these kind of things, or whatever the term is. But I've found particularly some of the developments in AI, the ability to have conversations with them. So I'm talking into my microphone or into wherever it is to ChatGPT all the time. This conversational ability that we have to be able to just speak and have them speak back has been really quite a game changer for me, more so than typing prompts in and so on. It's just become more of a tool, and I found it really useful now, rather than for carrying out specific tasks or doing specific things, but having that sort of back and forth conversation when I'm, for example, planning out a strategy for the next few weeks or the next year or whatever it is, being able to bounce ideas back and forth. And that sounds crazy to say it, bouncing ideas with an AI. But what it is good at is sort of questioning you if you ask it to, when you're talking these things through, and then coming back with ideas of different approaches or questioning philosophy and things like that in terms of a business strategy. I just find it really helpful to, as I say, sort of bounce things back and forth like that. I also find it really useful because some people think that I am somebody who is hyper efficient and productive because it appears from the outside that I've put out a lot of content. I've put out a lot of courses and built quite a lot in the past, however long that I've been publicly visible through Take One Tech. So there's been a sort of a journey arc, if you like, of what's been done, and it's easy to just sort of look at people from the outside and make assumptions about how they operate and what their flow is. And I talk about productivity, I talk about automation, and so it would be easy to imagine that everything's just working completely seamlessly, and there's lots of things that are working in the background, and I'm just coming in and efficiently working. That's not the reality. The reality is that I actually struggle with all kinds of different things, and the reason that I've go so heavily into all of these tools for automation, for productivity, is to try to, let me say, calm my mind, or at least control my mind, corral me into doing the things that need to get done. And I'll also say that given that there is, whatever content has gone out, I always feel that I'm always falling short of what I know that I could do. And I've found that there's lots of reasons for that, or I've discovered lots of reasons why that is. I've actually found ChatGPT as being a really good help with me in actually getting the things done that I need to get done, because what I've been doing is having my little conversation with ChatGPT about what needs to get done over the next week or 2 weeks or whatever, and then getting a plan in place, back and forth with ironing out this is the plan, but then basically having them as my little assistant, where I do one thing and then I say, right, what's next, and it's been quite helpful in keeping me on track and stopping my little mind from my monkey mind from going off and doing other things. I'm the worst for getting excited about something and diving down a rabbit hole, so I've got to always try and consciously stop myself from doing that. And honestly, ChatGPT has been quite helpful in allowing me to do that. The one area that is always a slight frustration with ChatGPT, and the other ones, the other models as well, I primarily use ChatGPT. I've been trying out Gemini and Claude of late as well, which have also the Gemini talking back and forth works. It's very similar to ChatGPT. The problem is that Gemini, which is Google's AI, by the way, Gemini doesn't have all of the memory of our past conversations, because I haven't had any with it yet. I've only just started using it. One of the things I love about ChatGPT is the fact that having built up this sort of backstory, if you like, of these memories. So if you're using ChatGPT on the phone or on the desktop, you can have it store your sort of memories. So it will store little parts of all the conversations. So even if you're jumping from one thread to another, it's still got this underlying memory of your interactions. So it means that if I'm talking about the Digital Stage Academy, then it knows that I also did an event called the Digital Stage Blueprint, and so on. And it's got these sort of memories back and forth, and about who my ideal client is and all of these kind of things. So it has this retained memory. One of the things then with Gemini is when I started testing it out, I felt that it doesn't know me in the same way that ChatGPT does. So it's going to take time to build that. There was a really interesting article though, which was I'll just get this up. It's posted on Reddit from OpenAI, but it was with the Microsoft AI CEO, Mustafa Suleiman, and he was talking about the fact that when you have near infinite memory, everything becomes a lot different because suddenly it can remember all of your conversations. I've just dropped the link into that. But yeah, so, and what he said was we have prototypes that have near infinite memory, and so it just doesn't forget, which is truly transformative. And he was saying that this is something that is likely going to be coming into these AI models in 2025. That truly will be a game changer, because at the moment what I'm finding is I'm reaching this limit in ChatGPT where it's getting to this point where it says, your memory's full, you've got to go and delete things. And then I'm having to look through all of these snippets and think, right, oh, okay, that's maybe not as relevant now, maybe this one isn't, but you've still got to make that decision of what to keep and what not to keep. the fact that it's going to have this, much longer memory is going to be from your personal interactions is really going to be a game changer. So I'm really looking forward to that. There's another thing that is kind of linked to the AI as well, which I've been using. So for the longest time, I've been using Zapier, which is for automations. However, I was doing a project recently that I needed to do something that basically Zapier just couldn't do. On any of the Zapier paid plans with whatever features, there were some things that it could not do. And so I ended up looking at make.com. I'll drop the link into the chat as well. But make.com is also, it's got a bit of a better interface, I think. So if you go and have a look at this, let me just come, I don't want to actually go into the login one. It's another automation tool, but it looks something like this. So this is make.com. It's got these sort of visual blocks that you can just drop in. So you can have a sort of little trigger that's going to come on. It works in exactly the same way as Zapier, or if this then that, it's the same thing. There is a trigger, there's something that happens. This idea of different paths though, so depending on the response or the result, it can send you on different paths. It can also handle things like looping a lot better than, and by looping I mean sort of iterating through multiple different lines of a Google Sheet or something like that. It's just a lot more sort of full featured. This does link in with ChatGPT and the AI tools as well, though, and so I'm just kind of working on some ideas around certain automations that can actually use ChatGPT to sort of influence an outcome or to control an outcome. So this is just another tool that I know it's been around for a while. It was previously called something else, Integramat, I think, or something like that. But this is make.com. And so this is another tool that I've just recently started using, I guess, in the past sort of 2 months. But I will be diving a lot deeper into it. And basically, I'm replacing all of my Zapier integrations or Zapier zaps slowly into this as well. So I'm just sort of migrating everything across. I use Kajabi for all of my courses and for the my website and everything that I do, but I'm using ConvertKit, or what's now called Kit, for email management and so on. And there's some other third-party tools that I use around Kajabi. So using Make for those integrations between them is something that, as I say, previously did with Zapier, but I'll be doing with Make going forward. Just a really nice user interface, much simpler. It's easier for me to create things in here and then share them with other people, and they can follow along with them a lot easier than with Zapier as well. So yeah, just really fond of that one. So I'll be doing more with that. A couple more tech tools then that I'll be using as we go into the new year. And sometimes, it's easy to see that there is a new product that comes out and then there's a load of hype about it, and then it kind of drops off people's radar, and obviously it's not top of people's conversations and top of mind, so it's not getting talked about as much. I don't think that's necessarily the case with this, but this is actually a product that came out in 2023, and I was late to the party. I bought it basically a year after it was released, and it's the DJI Osmo Pocket 3. But it's such a great tool for content creators. Even if you're doing stuff that is largely studio-based, like I am doing. One of the things that I'll be doing more of next year, I've just done a series of 31 short-form videos for Ecamm. So they've been going out on the Ecamm channel, 31 Days of Ecamm, as the series is called. But this is going to be one of the things that I'm doing more of on my channel as we go into the new year as well, which is creating more short-form content. And some of it will be the sort of tutorial-style videos that I have been posting, or that have been posted on the Ecamm channel that I've done, and others will be more just sort of single shot talking head sort of stuff as well, and some of them will be things to do with the studio, but this is what I'll be using largely for that. The thing that is really amazing about it, I know when it came out, everyone raved about the image quality and so on, but it really is a thing. And if you're just hearing people talk about this type of camera, it's easy to just sort of compare it to other cameras like the GoPros and things like that, action cams that are ostensibly in a sort of similar field to this, or similar category, I guess, to this. But it's also worth comparing it to other cameras, like, for example, the Sony ZV-1, which is what I currently have in my little teleprompter. It's hidden in here in the back. But the thing about it is that this actually has the same sensor size as the Sony ZV-1. It's a 1-inch sensor, which means that you're getting a really good image quality. Now, the lens assembly is obviously a lot smaller, so the lens is going to factor into the image quality you get out of it. However, the sensor is big, so you're going to get that higher image quality than some other small portable little camera. But being able to use it in a studio, you can plug it in over USB-C, so it can actually be, if you're looking to do a combination of different types of content, then this can still form, the primary shot that you're using as well, just plugged into your computer. But then you've obviously got a camera that you can take off and use outside or inside in different scenarios. We were talking about cameras in the Digital Stage Academy. We have a weekly office hours session in there. So that was yesterday. I do 2 of those a week, 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. on a Thursday for me, so that there's folks in different time zones can come along and make those. But we were talking in there yesterday about cameras and whether, it's worth going with something like, I'm using the Sony ZV-E10. That's my camera here with a Sigma 30mm lens. I've got, as I say, the Sony ZV-1, which is another camera that I bought previously for this as well. But now there are all of these smaller cameras that are coming out, such as the obsbot Tiny 2. This one here as well, which we've just talked about, the DJI Osmo. And there's all of these smaller sort of compact cameras, which have one specific purpose, or maybe are intended for a specific purpose, as opposed to using a mirrorless camera like the Sony ZV-1 or ZV-E10 or whatever. And so should people be still thinking about buying those versus something like this, or like the obsbot or whatever? I do think we're at a point now where the image quality we're getting out of these what's the word? Specific cameras for specific purposes is becoming really high enough quality that you can still just use those as your primary camera. I'm using them for my sort of secondary shots. So I've got the obsbot Meet 2 is this one here. There's the obsbot Tiny 2, which used to be there. Obsbot are coming out with some great cameras, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But yeah, the DJI Osmo Pocket is definitely one that I've been using up until now, just for actually just family stuff. So, took it on holiday with us, been filming the kids and stuff like that. And it's just really handy to be able to have it literally in your pocket and pull it out and take some footage and so on with it. So I've been really enjoying using it. I've just not been creating any public content with it yet, but that'll be coming next year. So that's something that I'm excited about. It's technically, it's going to be 2-year-old technology next year, but still, it's a great option. And I think the upgrade cycle of those, by the way, if you look at the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 versus the 2 versus the 1, it seemed to be on about a 3-year cycle. So it's not like it's going to be, I wouldn't necessarily think, oh, maybe there's a new one coming out in the new year. I haven't heard anything to that effect. So it's still great, a great camera, great technology. And it's something that I think will last for a long time, because the quality is there with it. I mentioned there the obsbot. I will say that the obsbot Tail Air is what I'm using for my camera over my back here. The Tail Air is the one that's got sort of pan tilt zoom, a bit like this, where the lens moves around. It's a bigger camera than this one, the Tiny 2, but it's got a lot more functions in terms of the connectivity. So you can connect it over USB with HDMI, or you can connect it wirelessly or wired via Ethernet, so that you can transmit video over NDI as well. So that one over my shoulder is actually an NDI camera. It's transmitting the camera feed over the network. My top-down camera is also another obsbot. So this one up here is an obsbot, and that is actually over HDMI. And then I've got this one, Tiny 2, which is usually over on the side there. That's USB. And currently I've got the obsbot Meet 2, which obsbot sent this to me for review, by the way. I haven't done a full review of it, but I'm just trying it out at the moment. But this is this one. It's a 4K camera. The thing about it is, it's hard to tell from pictures how big things are. I always find, even in reviews where you see people holding things in YouTube videos or review type videos, it's always difficult to judge the scale of it completely. And one thing that just jumped out at me with this is when I opened the box, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just like so tiny. When I travel, rarely, but when I occasionally do, it was actually, this camera was always the one that I'd take with me. So if I needed to have Zoom calls or things like that, I would always take the obsbot Tiny 2. Now I'll just be taking the Meet, because it's even smaller, the Meet 2 rather. So it's a great camera from obsbot. They've got a whole range of different cameras available. Let me just drop this in. Do I have the obsbot link? Yeah, there we go. But this is the Meet 2, and it's about the size of, if you think about the camera block on the back of your on the back of an iPhone, it's about that big. So it takes up that much space. It's really tiny. So that's the obsbot Meet 2. And one of the things, as I say, we were talking about this in the Academy yesterday. By the way, the Academy waitlist is still there. The Academy is currently closed at the moment for new applicants or new entries, but you can go to this website here. I'll leave a link to that in the description as well if you want to join the waitlist. There's lots of things you get as part of the Academy, so you get access to all of the courses. There is a 5-module Academy course in there as well, but you do get access to all of the masterclasses. So my Stream Deck masterclass, Ecamm, Keynote. Well, the Ecamm one is free already, but Rodecaster, outsourcing and video studio masterclass. Access to the Digital Stage Network, which is our private closed community for Academy members and other folks who have just joined the network itself. Digital Stage Intelligence. I talked about AI. Well, we've got our own built-in AI into the Academy now, where basically it's searching, or it's using all of my content from hours, in fact, days and days worth of video content from the office hours sessions, and also all of my courses. I'm adding in all of the newer YouTube videos into there as well, so that basically you can ask a question and it will give you the answer. So like, obviously all of my stuff is generally sort of technical tutorial type things. So if you want to connect your Ecamm to Rodecaster, you can type that in, how do I do X, Y, and Z, and it will give you a set of instructions because it's pulling it just purely from my content. So it will give you a set of step-by-step instructions as I would tell you how to do it. But then there's a link down to all of the videos as well. So really interesting to just build that out more as we go into 2025 as well. But also as part of the Academy, you get these office hour sessions, which we have every week. So you can sign up to the waitlist for the Academy at the moment on the website, which you'll find dropped down in the description. I will put it into here as well. I have got a little shortcut for here somewhere. Where is it? This one. There you go. You can go to, there is the link in the description. So it's takeonetech.io/academy. But I digress. It was because we were talking in there just yesterday, though, about these cameras, as I say, and whether you would have a full mirrorless camera with a separate lens, or whether to use something like this. Not just necessarily obsbot, but this is the ones that we were talking about. And if you look at the Meet 2, which is this camera that you're right here. So this is the Meet 2. I could probably do more to dial in the settings. I've not really played about with it too much. I've literally just put it up there. But that is the Meet 2 camera. And if you look at the price of that, then it is at the moment just what is it? So it's on special offer at the moment, actually. 16% off, down from $129 to $100. Honestly, for the quality of image you're getting out of it, if you're looking to get into content creation and you don't want to buy a full, or maybe are a little bit daunted by all of the full camera settings or things like that, it's a great camera. This is a great option to just really get a much better image quality than you would get ordinarily out of your webcam or anything like that. It's going to give you a really high quality image. So you can certainly now have potentially a multi-camera setup for a couple of $100 versus the Sony ZV-1, Sony ZV-E10 rather, which I'm using, which I think was around about $650, and then there was a $300 or $400 lens on top of it. So for the price, I think these cameras really can't be beaten these days. The other one that I'm using, though, that I mentioned was the obsbot Tail Air. Now that is, if I just come up to here, that is this one. This has got a lot more functionality, and you can use the connectivity as well, is really the main thing in terms of having the NDI, the USB, the HDMI, and so on. However, there is a new Tail Air coming out, the Tail Air 2, and they've started putting images of it on their website. The thing that differentiates this, well, a couple of things actually. First of all is it does have an optical zoom. So whereas the other one had a digital zoom, you can see by just the size of the lens assembly there, it's got a digital zoom. It's much bigger, which means that you're going to be able to use it to get much higher quality images. So if you're doing like live events or things like that, where you want to have these around the room and be able to really zoom into people, then it's going to be a really high quality thing that you're getting out of it. The other thing that is slightly different on this is it's got NDI, but it's also got here SDI as well. So some people coming from professional video background like to use SDI rather than HDMI. So it's got that connection on the back. It's got an Ethernet built right into it. So whereas with the Tail Air 1, that one has the USB and then it has an adapter, which basically takes power and Ethernet into this little adapter, and then that plugs into the back. Whereas now you've just got Ethernet built in. I'm not quite sure. I will be testing out one of these, but they have got a couple of USB sockets on the back. Not sure entirely what those are. You've also got other audio inputs and outputs in here as well, and then you've got the HDMI out from that as well. And it actually, I'm just trying to figure out, does that look like full HDMI, or it still looks like micro to me because it's not quite the size of that. It might be a full HDMI. But in any case, it's got more connectivity, and here you can see it's got 5 times optical zoom, 12 times hybrid. So you're going to get a really high level of zoom there, even if you just use the optical zoom. So yeah, really interested to see and test out that one. As I say, I've got 3 of the Tail Airs. One of them is my top-down shot. One's over the corner. I did have one else in my studio, but I changed it out for another one just while I've been testing those. But yeah, looking forward to testing this. obsbot are doing some great things with their cameras. By the way, the thing that I haven't talked about every time I mention obsbot, I'm really happy with the quality of the image and things like that I'm getting out of them. Obviously, most of my videos are me sitting here pretty motionless. We don't need to have any movement going on in my camera because I'm just kind of sitting here. One thing I will say is that the AI tracking on these cameras is absolutely phenomenal. And I work with a number of sports coaches, but one in particular has been using these where they've got their cameras at the side of the sports field, and you can lock it onto a particular person, a particular player, and it will just sort of follow them around. Really with amazing accuracy. And even when there's people sort of running back and forth in front of people, you would think that it would lose track of who it was fixed onto, but it just doesn't. They're really phenomenal. So for live performances as well, that's the other thing about these. I mean, they kind of show that here. Imagine that you've got it pinned onto a stage. Maybe you're presenting on a stage and you're sort of moving back and forth and being animated on the stage. Well, this is going to be able to just sort of lock in on you and sort of track you as you do that. So yeah, really powerful cameras, and I'm looking forward to testing out more stuff as we go into the new year as well. Let me just do a couple more check-ins here. Hey Eileen, great to see you. Thank you for coming by. Michelle, video request wavelength audio settings with external plugins in Stream Deck Plus. That is definitely on my list. I guarantee it. Honestly, it's been on my list since I got the Stream Deck Plus. But as I say, I've made five recorded videos this year. But it's definitely on my list. So I will do that one. There's some really interesting stuff with Stream Deck with wavelength. The other one that I'll be making is the Stream Deck. I beg your pardon, not Stream Deck. The Rodecaster Pro 2 virtual devices as well, and then controlling Rodecaster Video with Stream Deck and also controlling Rodecaster with Stream Deck. So there's lots of sort of interactions between these things. I know Wavelink is not specifically for those. Wavelink is the Elgato's own virtual mixer. So yeah, definitely will be covering that though as well. Thanks for letting me know. David, yeah, Rodecaster Video course. Honestly, that is definitely on the cards, and that's part of the reason for me to get into doing my, relaunch of my podcast. By the way, it'll be a slightly different form. Last time my podcast was the live streamer backstage. It was an interview show. So what I'm going to be doing is, like a solo podcast, which is more about all the sort of stuff that I talk about in the academy, really. So let's have a look. Short verbal recap of what you've covered. Just join the stream. What I would recommend is start from the beginning and watch on double speed and catch up. I'll just recap for you though. Basically, Ecamm video switcher, software video switcher, Rodecaster video hardware switcher, talking about ChatGPT, OpenAI, and just getting more into that as we get infinite memory potentially, using that with Make.com, and then the digital, DJI Osmo Pocket 3 and the obsbot range of cameras. There we go. We're all up to date. So let's see. Which of your courses best explains how to set up Zoom with Rodecaster Duo? Actually, I mean, if you, I believe you're an Ecamm user. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you are an Ecamm user, then definitely check out the free Ecamm Live Masterclass. So this is a course that is a complete start to finish, everything you need to know to use Ecamm Live. This is the software that I use, as I say, for all of my my live streams. And the course is free. You might wonder, how is it a free course? It genuinely is a free masterclass, which is over 140 lessons. I've got some quick start guides in there as well, though. It looks something like this. If you go over to that website, and you can just get free access. Whoops, I'm not even showing it for you, am I? There we go. Something's happened. My Stream Deck has just suddenly decided to go slow for some reason. There we go. But yeah, it is, as I say, there is some quick start guides in there that help you just get up and running with Ecamm. So there is 15 lessons, I think, and basically you could watch those and then start using Ecamm effectively. But then we've got sections on overlays, scenes, audio, cameras, and so on. Why is it a free course? It was my first paid course, but then I did a full update when Ecamm Live 4.0 came out, and I made it completely free. My motivation for doing that is twofold. First of all, I genuinely mean this when I say that I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now without Ecamm. It honestly changed the way that I made course content for other things, and in discovering Ecamm, it opened up this whole world of possibilities of other things that I could be doing, and has been instrumental in me building out the Digital Stage Academy, Take One Tech, all the things I'm doing on the channel. Ecamm themselves have been so supportive of me and that journey. So Ecamm, the company, have been so supportive, and the Ecamm community have been so supportive. The Ecamm community is something that's really special, in the fact that there's lots of people in there that are ostensibly doing the same kinds of things, and you might think that there is some competition in there. I've never felt that there is any negatively competitive aspect that comes into what goes on in the Ecamm community. Everyone is there to support one another. I feel like it's maybe because we feel that we've just discovered this secret and that not many people know about. In reality, there are over 20,000 members in the Facebook group and far more Ecamm users. But there is this sort of uniting thing, I think, that we've found, that it's given us this freedom to be able to do what we do. Be that creating content. This is obviously a live stream, but all of my videos are made in one take with no edits. But then also using it for Zoom meetings and so on. It's just been an absolute game changer. So making this course free was just a way to sort of give back to the community that have been so helpful and supportive to me over the past, I guess, nearly 4 years that I've been using Ecamm. But then also, I do have other products, I should say. So full disclosure, in the Ecamm course, I tell you how to use the Rodecaster with Ecamm and Ecamm for Zoom. So to answer your question, but I do have a full Rodecaster course. So, that is then the thing that in the Ecamm course, I'm saying, if you want to go further into Rodecaster, check out the Rodecaster course. So it's kind of, if you want to use the term lead magnet, it's one of those as well. It's kind of like the ultimate lead magnet, because it's the complete Ecamm guide, but it also then leads into my academy, my consultation services, and so on. So there's a bit of a double-edged thing there, a bit of a double-sided motivation for me doing it, but that's the reason. So you can get access to that for free. There's no obligation to obviously do anything else. It is a complete Ecamm course, and as Ecamm is updated, then I'll be adding in new things there. So that was to answer the question, which courses best explains how to set up Zoom with Rodecaster Duo. So that is how you can get that. If you are an Ecamm user, you can go in and get that free course and check it out. By the way, if you're just interested in learning about what Ecamm can do, you can also go in and get the course for free. You don't have to be an Ecamm user. I do have a discount code for Ecamm in there as well, and in the description, by the way, as well. For 15% off, go to ecamm.com/take1tech. I will just drop this in the chat as well. And there you can sign up to Ecamm and get a free trial, and also a 15% off your first payment, either monthly or annual. But if you want to know more about what Ecamm can do, then you can also just sign up for the free course, even if you're not using Ecamm. Go through those quick start guides. It's, as I say, 15 short lessons, but it will show you all the power of Ecamm in there and decide if you want to go further with it. So that is where you could find it. I do also have a paid Rodecaster Pro 2 masterclass, which I will do a big update for that because there's a number of new features which have been added in recently, specifically like the virtual devices, where you can now have your music playing in a different track to your browser and things like that. So I'm going to do an update with that. That would be another place to find the how to set up Zoom with Rodecaster as well. And by the way, as we go into the new year, mentioning that I'm going to be doing more pre-recorded courses, pre-recorded lessons, videos. I've got courses on my mind. Too many courses. I'll be doing more videos on YouTube, recorded videos, and a lot of those will be tutorials around exactly these sorts of things. So let's have a look. Bowls Promo TV. Hello again. Great to see you back here. Do you do much with the Bird Dog series? I haven't actually tried them. I looked into them, but I'll be honest. I never really had the use for these PTZ cameras in my studio for what I was doing. And then it was only when obsbot reached out to me and asked if I wanted to test the tail air. I'm not really using the PTZ capabilities of them, but I'm using them for these other camera angles, and I've done all the testing of them. So no, I've never gone down the route of actually buying a Bird Dog or any of those series because I didn't genuinely have the need for it in what I'm doing. So I haven't tested them. I should probably just for comparison test them, but I haven't done that yet. Hey Neil, great to see you here. Jamie, Ecamm user at low level and Stream Deck XL owner, but I need to refresh myself on how to use the XL for basic tasks. Well, thanks. I appreciate that the content's been helpful. Yeah, the Stream Deck is such an amazing productivity tool, and in this, I do talk about in the Ecamm course about how to use Stream Deck with Ecamm. But it is such an amazing productivity tool, and just doing a few basic things such as setting your screen up, for example. So pressing a button and it opens a certain set of apps and uses an app like Moom to put them all in the correct place on the computer. I talked earlier on about how, all of these productivity things that I talk about are kind of a way for me to try to control my little monkey mind and stop me from either not doing anything or going off and doing the wrong things. And my biggest enemy is friction. If there's any sort of friction that is in the way of me actually just getting started with things, then that's where I can falter and not do the things that I'm supposed to do. And so one of the things I love about Stream Deck for productivity is you can just press a button and it just puts everything like there ready to go. And so that friction of just making a start and getting started with things is just eliminated if you can just press one button and it just goes straight into you getting started. I've got no excuse for myself, so I'm trying to remove my excuses. So let's have a look. Hey, question I'm not sure if I've heard you answer, but what drove you to Ecamm over something like OBS? There's a common thread in the Ecamm community. By the way, OBS is ostensibly a very similar program to Ecamm because it's a software-based camera switcher. So everything that I'm doing in Ecamm, I could probably do in OBS. And there's some things that I could do in OBS that I can't do in Ecamm technically. A couple of those are going to change. A couple of new things coming in Ecamm are going to be parity then with OBS features. OBS stands for Open Broadcast Software, and it is open source, it is free, and it's available on the Mac and PC. A common thing that you find in the Ecamm Live community is that everybody's tried OBS because it's a free option. So why wouldn't you try a piece of free software first when it's, as I say, this cross-platform? It can do lots of things. You've probably seen people creating videos that maybe look exactly the same as this, and they've done it in OBS. So I'm not knocking OBS whatsoever. It's a great tool to try out. And as I say, you can't beat the price point as well. What I found with it personally, there's a couple of things. So first of all, at the time that I tried it out, I was actually using an older, well, obviously it's about 4 years ago now. So I was using an older Mac that I'm using now. There was something I was trying to do, and I felt that OBS wasn't giving me a good enough quality output, basically. So it was the frame rate of some camera feeds that were coming in and so on. Now, that's not necessarily OBS's fault. It was probably down to my hardware. So, a lot of people will blame the software when really it's just we're trying to do too much with the hardware that we've got. So I will say that, the hardware was probably part of the limitation there. I also found that whilst I could do all of this stuff, it didn't feel intuitive to me. The way that you do things in OBS, for me, just didn't seem as though it matched with my my mindset. I often find when you've got things that are cross-platform, so they're built for Mac and PC, sometimes you feel like they've come more from the PC side, and the Mac side is the one that suffers. I'll say that for a number of things. I'll say for Elgato and Rode, they both make the like Elgato Wave software that we just mentioned earlier in the chat, and like Rode Central and the Rode apps. I definitely feel like those have been sort of PC first, and then they've ported them over to the Mac, and so the Mac kind of feels a little bit not Mac-like. It doesn't feel like a native Mac app. And it's the same with other manufacturers like Ava Media as well. I've got a couple of Ava Media cameras that I tested out a while back, and an Ava Media sort of switcher type thing as well. That's also got a desktop app, and I'm a Mac user, and I felt that it was just, again, a port over from the Windows-based one, so it just doesn't look like a Mac app. I felt that with OBS as well. It didn't seem as though it felt the way that my brain worked, but it was an option that was out there, and it was one I tried out. I then just happened to watch, there's a podcast that I watch called Mac Break Weekly, and there was a guest on there called Doc Rock, who is now the, let me get his title right, Partnerships Director, I think, for Ecamm. At the time, he was the community manager, and in fact, actually, maybe when I saw him, he wasn't. He was just an enthusiastic user of Ecamm, and he mentioned Ecamm Live for live switching. So I thought, oh, let me just give it a go. And the thing about it was, to long way to answer your question, the thing that made me make that switch was the fact that when I tried Ecamm, those problems that I had with OBS were just not there. So I didn't have these frame rate issues. I didn't have other things. And I just found it was so easy for me to build things out. And it just worked perfectly out of the box, as it were. So that's why I went over to Ecamm. Ecamm for the Pro plan is whatever it is. I want to say it's $40 a month-ish, and 300 and something a year. And so what it means is that it's basically costing me $1 a day. To do that, so it was a no-brainer actually to switch over. Thank you very much. Your courses are amazing. I'm so pleased that they are helpful for you, and thank you for saying that. I'm really just so pleased that they make a difference and help folks out. So if you're on a Mac, then definitely give the Ecamm trial a go. Even though, as I say, OBS is a free option, you might just find that sometimes it's worth saving yourself the time and headache. I always say that I pulled out my last hair with OBS, which is not quite true, but almost. OBS is a great option, though. As I say, cross-platform too. Some really interesting new things coming out with Ecamm in the new year as well. I can't really talk about them, but yes, just some really great new features. They're just constantly developing the features. That's the other thing about Ecamm. That although it's it's a company, it's really two people, the developers, Ken and Glenn, twins, and they're just so responsive to feature requests from people, what folks are asking for in the community. Hey David, can you talk about keyboard shortcuts with Stream Deck and how you can post links to the chat? Absolutely. So in Stream Deck, if I come up here, let me just get a completely blank screen for you. So here is my Stream Deck app, and what I do with Stream Deck, sometimes I've got things that pop up on the screen. Now I'm going to be able to not show you this now, but let me go back in here. Something like, now have I got these activated? Oh, do you know what? I think have I removed? Oh no, I haven't. There we go. Things like that. So these little pop-ups that I have on screen, that's an animated overlay. So this thing that's just popped up wherever it is down there, that's an animation that I'm playing as an overlay in Ecamm. But what I want to do is I want to be able to also post a link into the chat. So the way I've done that is I've gone into Stream Deck and I've created a multi-action. And then in there, we've got the Ecamm Live plugin. By the way, that's the other thing about Ecamm is they've got such a huge plugin for Stream Deck, which is somehow moved, but it's down here. So I can go into here and say play animation. There are all of these different actions that you can control Ecamm with Stream Deck. So I play an animation. So let's say I want to play This one, well, why not? Like and subscribe. In fact, let's do this one, consultation. There we go. So that's going to play an animation, but then what I can do is in Ecamm, you've got an option here, post comment. And in there, you can type what the comment is. So if I type in get help with your tech setup, and then put in my consultation link, then now what's going to happen is when I press that multi-action, it's going to play the animation, but then it's also going to post a link. So I'll just press that now. You'll see that that animation has come up on screen, but it's also now posted in the chat, as you can see, that thing there that I've just typed in. So all of these sort of calls to action, like during a live stream, or even just, you want something that's like, post your questions or whatever it is that you want to just put into your live stream chat. With Ecamm, you can do that in here. I'm sure you can probably do something similar with OBS as well, but you can do that in here with the Ecamm plugin. The other one that's kind of similar to that, which you may want to take a look at. By the way, I'm telling you something here that I know is a good practice, but I still haven't got myself into the habit of doing it, which is this one, add marker. And what that does is if I put in some text, this is an important point, or maybe I could say clip this. Maybe that would be better. Maybe that would be better. Let me just put clip this. Then we'll put clip. Let's say I'm going through doing my, whatever we are now, 1 hour live stream, but I want to repurpose this into short form content. And there's certain points in it where I think like, oh, that would be a great thing to clip. If I just press this button now, what it's going to do is it's going to add a timestamp into a text file. And when you finish recording in Ecamm, you'll then have a text file that will have a timestamp, and then it'll say clip this, whatever you've typed in there. And then it tells you all those points. So you can go back into your video and pull out those points. But you could also use this by having, let's say you've got distinct chapters that you want to put into your video, then you could just have this duplicated and just call it like, chapter 1, chapter 2, and so on. So just call this chapter 1, chapter 2. In here, you could put the actual descriptions. So I've talked today about Ecamm Live for live streaming. I've also talked about the Rodecaster video. So we could put that one in as another one here, Rodecaster video. And then what's going to happen is as I go through the live stream, if I just press those buttons as I go through and get to those points in the live stream, at the end of the stream, then I would have a text file that's already got those those timestamps in, and you could literally just copy and paste those and drop them into your description of your YouTube video, and then it would create the timestamps in the timeline for you. So that's another nice little thing from the plugin. I know not what you asked specifically, but just one that's kind of similar, where you're putting in these predefined things in advance. So just a couple of other things then to mention as we go into the new year as well. So the other top tech I've got to keep talking about, and we've talked about it just now, and other people have asked about it as well, but our Stream Decks. I mean, they are the thing that I could just not live without now. And I started my channel with one Stream Deck XL, and actually it was this microphone, the Shure MV7. Honestly, if companies weren't sending me other mics for review, I wouldn't really be thinking about changing this out. This mic has been really solid for, as I say, 4 years now. The one thing about a microphone is they do tend to last a long time. It's not something that is moving with the same pace as like video. So there are all these cameras coming out. We talked about sensor sizes. There's this race to make them more affordable with bigger sensors, with bigger lens assemblies and higher quality image and all that. And that is moving at such a pace. So, this is the Tiny 2 last year or whatever it was. There was the Tiny 1. No doubt there'll be a Tiny 3 out at some point. Same with the DJI Osmo. These things are sort of moving. And so there is that sort of sense that, there's something better out now. The thing about microphones is you can buy a microphone and it could literally last a lifetime. And if you handle them well, there's nothing in there that's necessarily going to break too much. Maybe a lifetime's a bit of a stretch, but basically, a very, very long time indeed. So investing in a good microphone is always the first step, I'd say, if you're going to be making content or just even on your meetings to get your audio much better. But the other thing, though, is the Stream Deck. I mean, it's such a powerful tool. And as I say, I bought my original Stream Deck for just switching cameras in Ecamm, but then I've quickly, they've multiplied. I've got 2 XLs and a Stream Deck Plus, and then I've got 2 Stream Deck pedals on the floor with 3 pedals each, so 6 actions under my feet. But I'll say that these are kind of not quite the same in terms of, I'm sure that they've got a lifespan. I'm sure that the screens at some point will burn out or whatever they do. Pixels will drop or whatever. However, you know, this one, or this one in particular, has been on my desk for 4 years now, and it's never really faltered, and there's no issue with it. So it's another thing that you kind of invest in, but is going to really last you a long time. And the things that are coming with it are basically all in software. So all the new features, it's not like a camera where if you want the latest, you've got to upgrade to a later camera. With Stream Deck, the Stream Deck's literally just a keyboard with some little screens on it. So the functionality of the Stream Deck is not coming from the device itself, it's coming from the software. So I'm really excited to see what's coming with Elgato in the new year as well. They have been doing, you know, quite a heavy release schedule over the past 12 months, I say, more so than the previous 12. So really interested to see what more is coming from them. We talk about gas, so much so I put it on a mug. The gear acquisition syndrome is real. It's this thing of, you know, either wanting the latest and greatest, or worse is when you feel that you've got to have it in order to actually do stuff, whereas in fact you can just start with what you've got. But there is one product from Elgato, which is the Stream Deck Pro, which is a rack-mounted version. Now, I don't need a rack-mounted version of the Stream Deck, but it's just interesting to see that they're getting into that professional space there with the Stream Deck for, you know, professional production studios. Let me just see if I can show you this. We'll go to here. It's this one, the Stream Deck. Oh, not Stream Deck Pro. It's called Stream Deck Studio. I beg your pardon. So there you go. So it's designed to fit in a, you know, a computer rack or on a desk rack or whatever. So the point about this though is that this was their sort of first thing going into this sort of space. So I'm interested to see what additional functions that are coming into Stream Deck in the as we go into the new year as well. So there you can see it in a studio setup. I mean, the geek in me just thinks like, that would look nice on my desk, but I just don't need it. That's the there you go. There's it in a full sort of studio setup. That's not what I'm doing. So, but anyway, but the point is though that with that sort of integration into this sort of slightly different market, it'll be interesting to see what new functionality comes into Stream Deck in general that will then benefit all of us other Stream Deck users using them on our regular desks, not our production desks. Neil, since buying 3 Stream Decks, I've never looked back, and thanks. Well, yeah, thanks to you as well. You've done some great videos on Stream Deck. I recommended somebody just in the Academy the other day was asking about using Stream Deck to control Rodecaster video. Beg your pardon, using Stream Deck to control the regular Rodecaster. And Neil did a great video all about that and how you can use MIDI to control the Rodecaster. And an instance where you might want to do that is if you are obviously not talking to you, Neil. I know you know. But if you are doing a recording, for example, in Ecamm Live, but you also want to trigger the recording on the Rodecaster itself, to have that audio backup or to have the clean audio coming straight into the Rodecaster, then having a multi-action button on your Stream Deck to be able to press that then starts the recording on Rodecaster and also on Ecamm at the same time, or mutes things and so on is great. So yeah, Neil, you've got some amazing content out there yourself. But yeah, it is that thing. When you get the multiple Stream Deck setup, it's kind of a thing of beauty. So I know it's I've definitely never looked back as well. Now here you go. Here's the thing. My son recently got a 3D printer. I've made a lid and a bracket for my A10 Mini Pro and holders for my battery packs. Do you have any 3D printed stuff? You know, I've resisted getting a 3D printer. And the reason is I talked earlier about trying to control my monkey brain from just going off on tangents and doing things that are maybe appear productive, but are not actually adding to my overall net sort of output, or my priority output maybe is the thing. I will be adding a 3D printer into my my studio at some point because I've got so many ideas. My background's in engineering. In any case, and I'm always having these same sort of ideas as you, where you just want to make a little bracket or a mounting. I want to make a mounting for my Stream Decks at the moment. The moment they're kind of loose on the desk. I want to make a better USB connection so that I've got the I don't know if I can show you this actually. For some reason my phone is not connecting to Ecamm. Let's see if it's connected. No, it's not. But I've got the hub on the Stream Deck. So the Stream Deck Plus has the hub in the back of it. Let's go to this and Stream Deck. I'll show you. So they made this. Oh no, it's not that one. It's the XLR dock. That's the XLR dock. It's this one. They made this attachment for the Stream Deck Plus so that you can have a little hub on the back of the Stream Deck Plus. So I've got one of these going into my Stream Deck Plus, and then I've got two really short cables that then go into my Stream Deck XLs on either side. I could make a nicer sort of mounting for the whole thing though, the three together. So that's something that I want to 3D print. I've got lots of other ideas for tech stuff around the studio that would be great for 3D printing. I'm just trying to control my my monkey mind once again to stop it going off on on these deep dive tangents into things. But it is something that's on the cards as we go forward. We've got someone in the academy, Henrik, who does lots of 3D printed stuff. He does some amazing 3D printed stuff for his hobbies and so on. And so I'm constantly asking about those and recommendations, but probably in the new year at some point I will be doing some 3D printed stuff, and I've got lots of ideas for hardware products, but also software. So I've got a team of developers that I've worked with in the past on some other projects, and so I've got a few projects that are on the holding tank, the ones that is not on. I've not activated them yet, but we'll certainly be releasing a few items of software and hardware at some point in the future. But yeah, the 3D printer will be coming soon, I'm sure. I'm telling myself, I'm sure. So yes, I'm glad that I've been a positive influence, if indeed that has played a part. But yeah, the multiple Stream Decks is definitely a thing. If you are going to get multiple Stream Decks, not you specifically, because I know that you've probably done this journey. I will say that the Stream Deck Plus and the Stream Deck XL work really well together because you can have multiple profiles. And so I always advocate, if you've got one Stream Deck, having a home profile. So when you basically can switch into your multiple different use cases of the Stream Deck. But what I do is I have the profiles on the Stream Deck Plus. Oh, sorry, the buttons on the Stream Deck Plus that change profiles on the others. So if I press a button on here, for example, it's going to change what appears on that screen. So you maybe saw there that screen changed. And I've got a range of different sort of pages of profiles on here that I can then switch out between one profile and another. And if you use a multi-action, if you've got 5 Stream Decks, then you can have the Stream Deck Plus, press a button, and it will change the profiles on your 2 pedals and 2 XLs or whatever you happen to have at the same time as well. So given that I'm doing some things where I'm live streaming, some things are recording, some are on Zoom calls, some are, whatever it happens to be, if I press a button, it will update all of those other Stream Decks as well. So that is my other top tech for going into the new year, is Stream Deck. It's still just like one of my absolute favorite bits, if not favorite bit of tech. I love the Rodecaster Pro 2. It's a different device, but if you ask me which one I just honestly could not live without at this point, it's definitely the Stream Deck. The other things are technically replaceable with one tool or another, but the Stream Deck is just definitely there for me. So those are my top things that I wanted to talk about for going into the new year. Ecamm software switcher, Rodecaster video, definitely going to be doing more on that. And yes, David, at some point there will be a full course on the Rodecaster video. ChatGPT and AI, I mean, all of the AI tools as well. By the way, I don't know if anyone of you are using the ChatGPT Pro, which was, there was ChatGPT Plus, which is the paid plan, which was $20. But then recently they introduced the Pro plan, which is $200. Now, what they've said is, because all of them have been updated to the 01 version of the model, so we're all getting access to the same model. But what they've said is that the Pro plan is going to be more aimed at people who are using it for really deep mathematical calculations and research and so on. And so I thought, oh, well, that's definitely not for me then. But then I did actually go and look, and oh yeah, there's another point to it, which is you do get unlimited time with it. So one thing I've constantly find is this conversational back and forth thing that I'm having either in my studio or just walking around with my AirPods in on my phone talking to it. You do reach a point where you say you're up to the daily limit now of the, I forget what they call it now, the advanced mode or whatever. And so you're going to go down to the other model at some point as well. So you drop down to the other conversational model. Whereas with the Pro plan, you do actually get just that all the time. So I have run into those limits, and so now I am considering whether that that Pro thing is something that needs to be invested in, because yeah, it's such a vital tool to what I'm doing these days. So let's see. Sorry, I've just seen the L word. So Stream Deck versus Loop Deck. Loop Deck is a similar product in the fact that it is basically a programmable device that has buttons on it. They have dials on as well, so a bit like the Stream Deck Plus has dials. I used to use a Loop Deck. I've actually got one here. Let me grab it. This is the Loop Deck Live. Let me just get the dust off it. It's like getting something like in some movie where they go into the vault and pull out something that's covered in dust. That is the Loop Deck Live. The difference between the Stream Deck is these are not physical buttons. It is a touch screen. So that is a screen where you've got these divisions here. There are some physical buttons down here, and you've got these dials. The Loop Deck Live hardware is really solid. I love the form factor of it. It's really, pretty compact as well, so that's good. There is a little kickstand that goes on the back. I haven't got that on at the moment, but it's really portable and solid hardware. It feels really well made. I love the tactile feel of it and everything. I did feel that with a touch screen that you would lose some of the ability to just sort of reach down and touch the right button. But although there is a single screen there are these sort of plastic dividers over the top of it. So I did find that it was no trouble to actually just touch these. These are like sort of swipe panels here that you can swipe up and down, and also display what's happening with these dials. So hardware-wise, it's a great device. Software-wise, it absolutely sucks. And there are some just basic flaws with the software, in my opinion. One of which is with the Stream Deck, you've got all of these different plugins, and you can just choose to have whatever buttons you want anywhere. So for example, I could have a profile that I set up in Stream Deck where I've got maybe some Photoshop buttons and also some Zoom buttons. If I wanted to have a call with somebody and be controlling Zoom, but also be, controlling things in Photoshop. If I was going to do that, I don't know why I picked that. I'd never do that. But the idea is that, you've got these different actions that you can use. The Loop Deck does allow you to install plugins in the same way that you can install plugins in the Stream Deck. However, they seem to be kind of like sandboxed. So I can go into my Photoshop profile and it would have all of the Photoshop controls on that have been pre-programmed with absolutely everything that you could imagine to have really fine control of Photoshop. But if I want to just copy one of those buttons into another profile that I've created that has a mixture of things, you just can't do it. And it seems to me like that is an absolute flaw in the whole software. That's just one of a number of things. They did do some improvements to the software, but very few. I made a video a way back about the Loop Deck. I actually did a series of it was going to be a series of 5 beginner's guide to Loop Deck. I ended up only making the first 2, and then for whatever reason I didn't get around to making the others. But part of it was just I just completely lost the interest in it, and I made a video about how confusing the software was. And actually somebody from Loop Deck reached out to me and said, actually those are all points we're aware of, and we're actively looking to improve it. And I understand that this was somebody new that had come into Loop Deck, come from a different angle, and was also looking to try to improve the thing. Then what happened is at some point they got bought by Logitech, and I thought, well, this is amazing news. They've been bought by Logitech, so what more could we want than having some huge company there? I love Logitech products. I always use their MX series of mice or whatever, and I've used their keyboards in the past. I love Logitech products. They're great products. So I was thinking, right, this is going to give this the boost it needs. For me, it's just sat dormant, and there doesn't seem to have been any major development in the Loop Deck software at all. So for the time being, the reason why I did use this alongside Stream Deck for a long time was these dials. As soon as the Stream Deck Plus came out with dials that now I could just control with all of my other things, and it was able to integrate with all my other Stream Deck plugins and also be able to control my other Stream Decks, this one was relegated to the shelf over there, and it's stayed there. I did fire it up a few months ago when somebody had a question about it, and I tried it and I thought, let's see, maybe it's been updated, but it hasn't as of I guess 6 months ago. So Loop Deck versus Stream Deck. Stream Deck hands down. Yeah, I definitely prefer that. Hey, George, great to see you here. Thanks for stopping by. Switcher Studio lets me have PTZ for my 4 DJI gimbals and phones on a total Wi-Fi closed network. Obsbot, as I understand, is limited to 3 wireless with the Talent, or is it? Right. So there's 2 things there. The obsbot Tail Air. If you're using the obsbot like remote, you can have up to 3. If you're using the obsbot app, there's up to 3. And with the obsbot obsbot center, that is, I believe, 4 as is 4. So if I go into the obsbot center, I just wonder if that is something that might be changing. I'm not sure, but I wonder if that might be something that might change. So I'm just loading up the obsbot Center app. So here you can see the different obsbot cameras that I've got. So there is, this one is the Tiny 2, this one is an obsbot Tail Air, this one's a Tail Air as well. And this one is, actually, this one would normally be this one which I've unplugged. I've never tried more than 4 though. So the Tiny 2, the Meet 2 is one that I added in recently. So what I should do is I should try and connect more and just see. I wonder whether the limitation, let me just cut chase. I don't know the answer. So that's the real answer. I'm just trying to figure it out in my head because I know with like the Studio, the obsbot app, that does have that limitation, but I wonder if they're just connected to the network, they've all presumably got their own unique address. So if you were using them with something else, then you may be able to have more that are addressable. I'll do some testing on that and find out. Yeah, I do think 4 is possible though, but I'm not sure any more than that. But I technically have 5 obsbot cameras, although not all Tail Airs. So we'll see. But definitely hold off for the obsbot Tail Air 2 because that might be something that is capable of doing more. I'm not sure what they're going to release in that. I will be getting one for a review, but I'm not sure about. I haven't tested it out yet, so we'll see about that. Well, there we go. Those are my top things for 2025. And as I mentioned, there's probably no real surprise in there if you follow me, because I'm talking about, surprise, Ecamm Rodecaster products, Rode products and Stream Deck products are the top ones, and the obsbot cameras. So those are things that I've been excited about this year. And as I say, more interesting things to come with them. Oh, I see. So just to come back to that point then, you saw a talent picture that had 2 talents and 6 cameras. Oh, I see what you mean. Right. Yeah. So that might be that's a different product, isn't it? Where's it gone? Close this down. So that obsbot talent is there. I realize I'm not showing it now. This is the obsbot talent, which is their little device that, if you're connecting on the device, then that you're right. That may well be a limitation of that device because of how many you can physically connect into that. So that's like an all-in-one video capture and live streaming device, a bit like the YOLO Live. So I tested out YOLO Live products before, which are like a streaming device. And yeah, it's... I'll just see here, but they always show it with 3. So yeah, maybe that is the limitation of this as well. But we'll see. I'll try and get an answer and get back to you. If there are any further questions, though, feel free to drop them in the comments after the fact. This is another thing for as we go into 2025. I want to get better at responding to comments in a timely fashion. It was a bit overwhelming for a time, but I'm going to try and get back on top of them. There is always the Discord, though, so you can join that. That's a free community. You can always drop in there and ask your questions in there as well. Hopefully, I'll be a bit more active in there as we get into the new year as well. Thanks so much for watching. I will go back and leave a link to some other useful videos over on the right-hand side. Thank you for watching. Have a great holiday season and best wishes for the new year. I'll be taking 2 weeks off, so I'll see you in the new year.